Hey, what's up guys, Will here for GSM Arena. OnePlus came out all those years ago as the flagship killer brand, offering high-end specs at a lower price. Now things have changed, and with the new OnePlus Nord CE 5G, they've got the mid-rangers in their deadly sights. Should they be scared? Let's find out in our full review. The OnePlus Nord CE, or Core Edition, isn't exactly a successor to the OnePlus Nord we saw last year. It's more of a slightly trimmed down and refreshed version, meant to take on this year's hottest mid-rangers from the likes of Xiaomi and Samsung. The Nord CE is less than 8mm thick, thinner and lighter than the original OnePlus Nord. The plastic back and frame don't feel plasticky, and our blue void gradient finish really pops. It's a matte finish too, which is soft, doesn't show fingerprints, and is overall quite grippy. The Nord CE's display is a 6.43-inch AMOLED with a 1080p resolution, a fast 90Hz refresh rate, and a punch hole in the corner for the selfie cam. That fast refresh rate means that swiping and scrolling on the screen looks quite smooth, and it's adaptive, switching to 60Hz if you stop interacting with the display or if you're watching video content. Unlike the regular OnePlus Nord, you don't get HDR10 support here, and there's no mention of Gorilla Glass protection, but other than that, this display is great. The picture here is sharp, and is contrasty too, thanks to OLED technology. Colors are vivid by default, but you can make them very accurate if you switch color modes. And brightness is good. We measured a maximum of around 430 nits with the slider, and it boosts to almost 610 nits in auto mode when out in bright sun. There is a 3.5mm jack for headphones, but unlike some competitors, you don't get stereo speakers here. The single speaker isn't that loud, scoring average on our charts. Sound quality is decent, but there's not much as far as bass goes, and we notice distortion at higher volumes. You can opt for either 128 or 256 gigs of storage on board the Nord CE, but that's it, it isn't expandable. The interface of the phone is OnePlus's OxygenOS 11 over Android 11. One of the nicest things about it is that it comes with a promise of 2 years of major software updates and 3 years of security patches from OnePlus. Unlike older iterations of OxygenOS, the current one steps away from stock Android a bit, but is still quite fast and bloat-free. A lot of the icons and UI elements have a slightly different look, and things are arranged for easier one-handed use. There's an always-on display, which is quite customizable. Here's a neat trick. You can use gestures on the locked screen to control a media player or even launch an app. The Nord CE features an under-display fingerprint reader for your biometrics. It's fast and responsive, but the placement is low and feels a bit unnatural. One cool thing you can do is hold your thumb on the fingerprint reader, and this will activate a quick launch menu for shortcuts. The OnePlus Nord CE has a Games app, which organizes your games, and provides some settings for customizing the behavior of notifications and calls while you play. And there's something called Zen mode, which basically blocks your phone for a while, giving you a chance to breathe. Behind all of these features is an 8nm Snapdragon 750G chipset. It's relatively new and actually pretty powerful for this mid-range price segment, on top of providing 5G connectivity. Compared to the regular OnePlus Nord, which runs on a Snapdragon 765G, CPU performance is pretty much on par here. The CE does fall behind just a bit in graphics tests, but the scores are still respectable, and games run nicely here. Now onto battery life. The OnePlus Nord CE has a 4500 mAh battery, larger than the original Nord but nothing too huge. Still, battery life is great here. The Nord CE scored an endurance rating of 117 hours in our proprietary test routine. Charging speed is quite fast, but not the fastest on the block these days. With the bundled 30-watt adapter, we were able to charge from 0 to 67% in half an hour. The OnePlus Nord CE 5G has 3 cameras on the back, a 64-megapixel quad-Bayer main cam, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide cam, and a depth sensor. During the day, the main camera does a good job. Well, about as good as you can expect for the class. There's low noise, good detail, and wide dynamic range. The bigger issue is that the Nord CE's main cam consistently produces daylight images with a cooler white balance, which results in a distinct color tinge across the entire image, especially noticeable with whites, such as the building facades and the clouds. There is the occasional over-sharpening too. The Nord CE has a depth sensor to help with portraits, and these have okay edge detection. However, in almost every other respect, these aren't competitive. They are soft and lacking in detail, with visible noise and desaturated skin tones. The performance of the 8MP ultra-wide is average for the class. You get the wide field of view you'd want, but these photos are a bit on the soft side, with narrow dynamic range. Also, the colors don't match the main cam. They're a lot more saturated here, even going overboard. In low light, the main camera does alright. The contrast and noise levels are okay, and the dynamic range is decent. However, these photos are overall on the soft side. Turning on night mode will get you more sharpness, saturated colors, and a boost in contrast. The shadows are brightened up too. The result isn't very natural looking, but is an improvement. Low-light photos from the ultra-wide cam aren't good. They're soft, sometimes even blurry, with low contrast and desaturated colors. Night mode attempts to fix some of the issues with brightness, sharpness, and contrast. However, the higher contrast results in clipped highlights, and the results look a bit artificial. Selfies are taken with a 16MP front-facing cam, and these are very good, with plenty of fine detail and wide dynamic range. Videos can be recorded with the main cam in up to 4K resolution at 30fps. These are sharp enough, with quite a bit of detail, pleasant colors, good contrast, and wide dynamic range. The ultra-wide cam shoots in 1080p, and these results are softer, but the contrast and colors are fine. Electronic stabilization is available in all modes, and it does a good job, reducing shakiness to a minimum. So that's the OnePlus Nord CE 5G. You get a beautiful and lightweight design, a bright 90Hz OLED, great battery life and fast charging, a solid chipset for the class, and a snappy and bloat-free interface. But is this a mid-range killer? A mid-range murderer? Flagship killer? Honestly, probably not. You don't have expandable storage or stereo speakers. The camera experience is just average, and there are competitors with full-on flagship chipsets for the same price. But still, at the end of the day, the Nord CE 5G has enough going for it to stay competitive, and in this market, that's saying something. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, and see you on the next one.